podcast platforms, iHeartRadio, etc. Barb, what are we going to be talking? Barb, what are we talking about today?
Well, Richard, I want to talk about the role of a buyer's agent. And actually, the second segment is going to be about what an agent representing the seller would do. It's really interesting that the Division of Real Estate does not give a job description. It doesn't exist, believe it or not. So the only thing they say is, okay, if you sign an agreement, you have to tell the client how you're working for them. And most of them sign on as what we call a fiduciary, which you, Richard, being a lawyer, you probably understand what that means. They told us it means, and I'm not a lawyer, I went to college, but I did not do any kind of upper level education like that. And they told us it means that you would put the needs of your clients ahead of yourself. Is that right?
I think that's a simple way of phrasing it. Yeah. But I mean, what I want people to understand is still, even though you're putting their interest ahead of yours, it doesn't mean that everything is going to only accrue to them and not to you. It still accrues to your benefit when you look out for your client that way.
Right. I mean, and that's the way we approach our business. Whichever side, either we're working buyer or seller that we're working for, we go to work for them, right? But the problem is the state really doesn't give any kind of job description. Okay, so to do that, you're supposed to do this and this and this. And so what I'm still finding in the industry is a lot of the agents don't want to do what I think they should be doing, like show their buyers the home. It's just a thing that they just don't do it. I don't know why. I get multiple calls from agents going, well, I'm busy this weekend. I got stuff going on with the family. Can't you show my buyer your listing? And if they like it, I'll write a 10-minute contract. And one of them actually was for a multi-million dollar property. And what was going on in my head when I got that request was, okay, let me get this straight. You're probably going to spend 6 to 8 hours working with a buyer on one transaction. And the commission's going to be, in that case, probably $30,000, $40,000. Do the math. It's $5,000 an hour, and you don't want to show up and be there for your buyers. I don't get it. And then they go beyond that. They actually, once they get a contract, which has probably 10 or 15 very important deadlines in the contract that could put the buyer out of contract if they don't comply with those in the right way. And what they do with those is they abdicate their responsibility to something they call a transaction coordinator. Now, I don't know what that is. There definitely is no definition for it, but the theory, I believe, is to have somebody do all the paperwork. So basically, Richard, think about this. I'm representing a buyer, and I would never do this, but let's say these agents their behavior is, okay, I don't want to show the house. I might write the contract. And then when I write the contract, I don't want to be accountable for all the dates and deadlines. I'll hand that off to this vendor called TC that I pay a couple $100 out of the transaction to keep me in contract and monitor my deadlines in the process. How does that sound? Do you think that's worth, as a buyer, anywhere from $15,000 to $40,000? What do you think, Richard?
It's not worth that at all. And I'm sorry. Give me a second here. It's not worth that at all, Barb. I'm actually aghast that people would think that that's how you do business in real estate or anything else.
Yeah, and we have this thing in real estate where, because I talked to this one agent last weekend about it. She goes, "Can't you show my buyers? I'm busy with family stuff." And I'm like, well, we don't do that for other agents. But if you really can't handle it, you could refer that buyer to me. So agents can refer customers back and forth. And when it closes, all they have to do is make a phone call and they would get a portion of the commission. That's a referral system that the industry is kind of set up, which is okay. So I suggested that. Well, I'm happy. If you want to refer your buyer, I'll take care of them. And then, we'll send you some of that commission when it closes. And every time I tell them that, they're like, oh no, that's okay. So they don't want to do the work, but they want all the money. So I'm tempted to just say, why didn't I just send you the check? Are you okay with that? I know I'm being a little sarcastic, but it goes on. It goes on all the time. And the recent changes to the laws haven't changed at all. So that's our number one topic. Number two topic is talking about what an agent representing a seller should do. And I'm excited about that one because, of course, I have my own ideas about it. And I'm going to tell you my opinion. Whether you believe it or not, that's fine. But that's just my experience and my exposure to doing this now 29 years. The third topic we're going to talk about is how to avoid home inspection nightmares. Now, it's unfortunate, but a lot of deals do blow up over home inspection. And the problem is that right now, with more inventory on the market and the builders are basically giving away the farm in order to get buyers into their properties, even though the buyer might get a little less house, they get a brand new house that's fully under warranty. And so that's your competition. So you have to be ready for that. So we're going to talk about that. And the very last topic is how cash offers actually help home sellers regardless of their selling strategy. And as always, we're going to talk about our hot new listings. Richard?
Now, Barb, many times you've told us that most buyers start their search online and many will meet a real estate agent from that search. With all of the changes in the business recently and the buyer's agent fees no longer guaranteed, do buyers need a buyer's agent right now?
No, they don't have to have one, but I can see why a buyer would want somebody in their camp, and there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, by law, we have to disclose who we're working for on the side whenever we get a buyer that calls us as a listing agent directly. But technology has made all these listings publicly available. So the buyers really don't think they're finding homes from agents. They just want them to help with the paperwork, essentially. And that's kind of the way the multiple listing service is designed. It's designed to let all the other agents have access to it so they can show our listings and they could, make money on our listings. But the real plan, the real initial plan on this process was so that we could leverage our listings with everybody's buyers, not just our own. So the agent so the seller gets maximum exposure, which I think is a good thing. But a lot of the buyer's agents in particular, and unfortunately, are not really trained on what the public thinks that they know how to do. Things like handle objections, closing questions, negotiation, deal with the process. That's why they're abdicating them to these transaction coordinator people. It's like, oh, don't worry about it. And just so you know, the transaction coordinator is not licensed in most cases. They are not, their name isn't on the contract. They're not on the hook to meet these deadlines that are in there. But the buyer's agent is, and they're nowhere to be found. In fact, I get an awful lot of requests from buyer's agents because they're up against a deadline, and those requests come in on the deadline after 5:30 p.m., presumably because they have other jobs. I don't know. It happens all the time, but it drives me crazy. So, I would like to see better professionalism in the industry, but it hasn't changed yet. So anyway, and they actually did a study, this guy called Mr. Farrington, who is a writer and he's millennial age. And he did this blog that basically said, hey, what do buyer's agents do anyway? It was really kind of funny. And we'll cover that in the next part of the segment. But basically, he's like, well, wait, I'm finding the house. I can get my own contract. I can get my own financing. I can do all this. And the buyer's agent commission is built into the price, whether the seller pays it or the buyer pays some of it. It's in there. So what are they really doing for us? It's a really good question. Now, that's not how we approach working with buyers. What we do is we sit down with them, we find out what they want, and we go and try to find it for them. We even have insider access to homes that are not available online that we provide our buyers with, which they love because they don't have to compete. So this whole lawsuit thing that took place, basically, the reason for it was to prevent price fixing. Like if one seller is offering 2.5% and the other is offering 3%, to keep the agents from steering away from the 2.5% commission to the 3%. So that all changed. Now the buyer's agent commission is negotiable and it's put inside the contract. The problem is that commission is not tied to their performance at all. So we see all the time that everything's going great at first, and then, oh, sorry, we want a $20,000 repair and we want fries with that too. And we're going to turn your house into regional building if you don't give us what we want. Those have been my experiences. So it's still not fixed in my view, but when we come back, we're going to talk about some ways that you can kind of expect a buyer's agent to work in a perfect world. And we'll go on from there. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker, your home sold, guaranteed realty. If you've got a question, give her a call, 719-301-3900. And we're discussing the when it's the best time to sell a house here in Colorado. So Barb, what are the pricing trends now? And what do you expect to happen through the remainder of the spring into summer?
I guess I messed up that outline
Right.
and disregard that whole slide. Let me start that over and skip that.
All right.
Okay. So why don't you just ask, so Barb, what would be an ideal world if a buyer wanted representation? How about that?
So Barb, in a perfect world, Barb, in a perfect world, how would it figure out for a buyer to have great representation?
Well, Richard, I'd say it starts with sitting down with them and find out what they want. Back during the boom when everything was flying off the shelf, agents would literally meet buyers at the door and hope it worked out. And they didn't verify whether or not they even qualified to buy the home, which was very frustrating for sellers. Imagine getting everybody ready and kids and dogs and making the house show ready and finding out the buyer can't even buy a couch on Craigslist. It's insane. So it got this much better now. Technically, buyers have to have a written agreement with their buyer before they show a house. However, there is no written agreement police at this point. So who knows what's going to happen with that? But basically, this millennial asked the question, hey, what are they doing for me? We can get market info. We can get financing info. We can find the houses. What am I paying them for? Okay, maybe writing the contract. Okay, maybe giving me opinion of value. Possibly. That's assuming they know it. So he asked some good questions. So what we have done is basically taken the representation of buyers and put it in a different light. In other words, we're working for them. We're trying to get them their dream home. And along with that, we're offering certain guarantees like help with financing, like help, not just getting financing, but getting the rate spot down, getting some of their closing costs paid, getting, which saves them money, getting things like their home under warranty. So that if something breaks right after closing, they don't have to worry about all these things, make the process a lot easier for buyers and makes them feel like we're on their side. So that's how we do it. So if you are thinking of buying a home, give us a call. I have a whole team that can help with that at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. That's Barb Schlinker, host of the program and owner proprietor of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about what does a seller's agent actually do. We'll learn that when we come back. Apparently, they just tell Barb, hey, could you show your house and have them send the check to me?
Did I come on too strong with that one?
No, it is so offensive. You did not. I mean, if you did, I would tell you, but every now and then we'll do a show and I'm listening to something and I'm like, what I really want to say is, when you say, Richard, what do you think? I feel like saying, what the F is going on? I mean, drop the bomb right there, because in my heart, that's what I'm saying. I mean, gosh, I've had a lot of different jobs and grave digger to lawyer to this and all these other things. I just cannot imagine having the nerve to say, yeah, I'm going to make 10, 15, $30,000 on this sale, but could you do your job for me? And then I'll take 15 minutes to do a boilerplate, contract later on. I'll have some, other person keep an eye on it. Dang.
I'll
Even at
have
that
my
price
people
points,
call
I
your
run into
people
that.
and
What'd you say, DJ?
I'll have my people call your people and
Jeez. I mean, well, and the thing is, too, I've just got to believe that if the person who thought that they had this individual representing them knew what the truth was, it would be the same thing. How the F do you think you're going to earn $15,000? I mean, didn't do jack. I'll tell you what, I'm willing to pay that because that's what I thought I was going to have to pay. It's going to go to this blonde over here who's the one who took care of me.
Yeah, it's sad. It's very sad. Yeah, but that's
Gee.
what they do. And it's like the ultimate easy button, crazy.
I guess, I guess the mentality is, you know what, if you get away with it and somebody's willing to do that, then now you've established, and that's what I think people think. They've established, okay, we're going to do this forever going forward, right? Now that's what we do. Okay, I got a new clock and I'll count us down at three, two, one. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and it educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with the host of the program, Barb Schlinker. She is the owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most people choose agents that they know, like a friend. They don't really have a system for selecting the best agent to handle one of your largest assets. So, what does a seller's agent do, and how do sellers know they've made the right choice with that agent?
Well, Richard, it is, somebody's largest asset that they are considering selling, and it's a very large project. It's not like, okay, I'm going to take my car to CarMax, and get it sold, to show up there for an hour or so, and I got a check and I'm trading it. But it could be that easy or pretty close to that easy if you wanted to take a cash offer. But in most cases, majority of people want to really maximize the full market value, and they, want to go in the open market and see what the market's willing to pay. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it is kind of a seller's market right now. It just slightly, like we're seeing the days on market has gone up a lot more than what we saw like last year. So last year, average days on market is about 60 right now, depending on which county you were in the front range, anywhere from 70 to 107 days. So, real estate is really all about supply and demand. What we're seeing as far as the trend right now is that supply is going up, but demand is kind of staying the same. And the reason is that the rates are still high. They've ticked down just a little bit. I think conventional is about 6.75 as of today, and the government loans are about 6.23. So that's good. They're ticking down just a little bit from what they were a few months ago. However, it's still all about affordability, right? So if you do the math, a home that cost 400,000, if you got a VA loan and put zero down, your payment would be almost 3,000 a month. That's a lot of money. And a $400,000 house isn't spectacular, in most cases, unless you buy a smaller new house. So that's the problem. And a lot of sellers, what they want from real estate agents is they want good advice on pricing. All sellers want the most money. There's never any question of that. But at the end of the day, the home is going to sell for what the market was willing to pay for it. But sometimes the market will pay more for it if they hire the agent that actually knows how to market the home and command the most money for the home. And so you really want somebody that has some experience. And unfortunately, if you look at the industry statistics, I think there's 25 or 30,000 agents in the Denver area. There's 6,300 in the Pikes Peak region. More than 80% of them sell 3 or less homes a year. So, I mean, you could make more working at McDonald's, to be honest. And a lot of them have supplemental other jobs. So I would be asking some pretty intense questions. Are you a full-time agent? How many homes have you sold? How many homes have you sold in this area? What is your marketing strategy? Those are some really good questions to start with if you're interviewing agents. But unfortunately, a lot of the sellers will pick agents just because, oh, well, I liked her. She was nice. But this is a business transaction. You want somebody that is on your side and is also trying to command the most money for your home. So with the average days on market up, there's fewer sales than there were last year, just slightly. A lot of mistake of just going with the first they're the agent that sold them the house without even looking at what some of the other options are and with no predetermined method of deciding which one is going to be the right agent for them. Some people hire discount agents. I just met with somebody yesterday that did that, and they, from what I could see, it looked like marketing problems, and the house was sitting on the market. So basically what we're talking about is how to choose a real estate agent. What are the right questions to ask when you're choosing an agent to help you sell the home? And what do they do? Because the truth is there is no job description for either side, working for buyers or working for sellers. Everybody just kind of makes it up as they go along, and you're hoping that it's going to fit what you need to get your goals done. So when we come back, we're going to be talking about kind of what are some of the top questions and what are some of the things that you should be looking for when you select somebody to help you sell the home. It is a very involved process. It's nothing like, I mean, occasionally it can be the easy button. A lot of people I'm talking to today, I asked them how their last sale went, and they'll say, oh, it was great. It sold in 3 hours, or, a week or something like that, and it was a piece of cake. Yeah, well, that was a different market. That was when there were bidding wars on pretty much every property. That's not the case right now. You have more competition, not just from other existing homes for sale, but also from new construction, really wheeling and dealing and throwing out great incentives for buyers to bring your buyers over there in order to basically lower their payment and get the most house for their money on a brand new house. So if you want to find out what the process is for selling the home and exactly how we do it, if you are thinking of making a move in the next 3 to 6 months, we sit down with home sellers. We take a look at before we even show up, we're doing a lot of homework, a lot of research to help them maximize their dollar, to find out what the market's doing right now, to look carefully at their competition. And that way we can give them really good advice on how to position the home to maximize their dollars for their situation. And everybody is different. Some, like I just met with the seller last week that inherited a home, and it's adorable. I call it Granny's house. It was really well cared for, but it's a 1960s time warp, and we're gonna market it that way because it looks cute. And it's all about dollars and cents, right? You don't remodel a house and then not be able to command that money because it takes a lot of dollars to do any kind of remodeling, like kitchens and baths and stuff like that. So we just worked on the basics and priced it right. And I'm excited about seeing how the market responds to that home. So many agents will, they don't really understand marketing, and I can see it in the photos that I see online in particular. So what they may not know, and I hope they know, that your first showing is online. And if you don't impress that buyer with a short amount of time, they won't be bothered to come look at the home. And I just met with the seller last week, and they're looking at buying a home in another state. And I asked her that question. I said, how much time do you spend looking at a home before you're moving on to the next one? And she looked at me, she goes, just a few seconds. That's all you have. So if that presentation isn't right, if the price isn't right, if the first couple of pictures don't wow them, they are moving on. So we know how to do that, and we help our clients do that to make sure that their home looks like the best home on the block when we go on the market. But picking the right agent that knows how to do that is critical. So if you are thinking of making a move and you'd like to talk to us, we offer a free in-home consultation. We offer a free home consultation on what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale. We'll show you what the market will command right now, go over all the closing costs, and show you exactly what you'll put in your pocket when it sells. It's a free service, and you're never obligated to sell. Or if you're not ready yet and just want to find out about our free agent selection guide, you can go to Barb Has the Buyers, click on the green button up top that's called Free Reports, and you could download that report for free, or just call us at 719-301-3900, and we'll send it right out to you. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program, owner, broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach her at 719-301-3900. And we're talking about, why do you need a well-qualified real estate agent when you're selling your home? Barb, what are some other reasons that people selling their homes really need to know the Barb, what are some other reasons that people selling their homes need to know things? Barb, what are some other things that people selling their homes need to know in order to choose a great agent?
Well, Richard, the average agent spends $129 a month on marketing. That's it. I was just looking at pricing today for the quality photos that we order from photographers. It costs way more than that just for photography. And many of them aren't really trained on marketing, which is very sad. In fact, when these agents go out and show and they go inside an occupied home, one of my biggest frustrations is that I ask them every time, please leave a business card. That way the seller knows that you were there. They don't do it. I don't know if they even have business cards. It's just, to me, it's a lot more professional if you are doing that, because they want to know, were you there, and then afterwards, they want to know what your buyer thought. So I have to chase agents down to get feedback on what they thought of the showing of the home. Especially if I can overcome objections or help them reconsider that house if they haven't decided to make an offer. So that's number one. So what is the marketing plan? And then what do you know about the market, right? We can find statistics right down to zip code, neighborhood, just to give you a really good idea what the marketing is doing to position your home so that you are priced right. You're more likely to get a sale within 30 days, which is well below the industry average right now, if you're marketed if you are marketed correctly and you're priced right within the first 30 days. If you're not, if you're testing the market, it's going to sit there month after month after month and get kind of stale. So selling a home in this market to try to get top dollar does not necessarily mean that an agent just does what I see them do all the time, which is they just take pictures as it is and hope somebody will overlook some of the weird things that we see out there. Like I saw a picture just last weekend where there was all this stuff piled on the bed. And I'm like, what's that? I was one of my new agent that I was coaching. And she said, oh, she couldn't lift it. I'm like, okay, you don't put pictures of homes online that don't make the home look more attractive. You want to attract buyers. That's the whole point of this. You don't have to show every nook and cranny of the home. Or you shouldn't be marketing a home that looks empty, because it just doesn't look as attractive as something that isn't empty. We know that buyers, a huge percentage of the buyers, eliminate homes based on the online presentation, and it will cause the days on market to go up if that's not done correctly. I'm showing a picture right now of a kitchen. Looks like a pretty nice kitchen, but there's just too much stuff on the counter. I have a pet peeve about dish towels hanging from the stove or the dishwasher, dramatic rugs on the floor. It just doesn't, it's distracting. I'm not looking at the kitchen, I'm looking at the junk, right? And so buyers will move on if they don't like it for the smallest reason. Here's a marketing photo of a pantry full floor to ceiling with stuff. Those are not pretty pictures. If the pantry was empty, it'd be okay. Only once in my career have I seen somebody that staged a pantry that it looked fabulous, but I would say most of the time it doesn't look pretty. And according to the National Association of Realtors, buyers first find their homes on the internet. So that is actually the first test that you have to pass in order to get full market value for the home. And we know how to do that. So if you are thinking of making a move, you'd like to talk with us about how to get your house ready for sale, like to find out what your home will sell for in this market, and know how much you'll put in your pocket, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. And if you'd like a free agent selection guide that'll give you a checklist on how to interview agents, we'd love to give that to you as well. Go to barbhasthebuyers.com, or call us 719-301-3900. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be talking about how you avoid home inspection nightmares. Barb's got the answer to that. You want to hear it. There you are.
I hope that made sense.
No, totally does. I mean, if it ever doesn't make sense, I'll tell you that it doesn't, but it always makes sense. I'm the one who fumbles around here, it seems like half the time. It is funny that I just there are so many misconceptions. I had the sheriff of El Paso County and Teller County on the program today, and I had him on last week as well. We did a lot, but I think probably the biggest thing that we did was we just knocked down some complete misconceptions that people had. And I think you do a very efficient job of doing that on this program
Thank you.
because there are a lot of them. And yeah, I don't like that term managing expectations because to me it almost sounds like, well, we're going to do a crappy job for you. Don't expect anything better than that, damn it. But it is managing expectations because people don't really, they don't even know what's a reasonable expectation. They maybe had an experience 10 years, 15, 20 years ago. Maybe they had a friend who did something. Maybe they saw a TV show. And you not only give them a realistic view of yourself, but of the market generally. And I think when you ask those questions, I think people understand that you wouldn't be telling them, ask this and this and this. That if you ask me, my answers would be, the ones that you'd want to hire me. So that ought to tell people something.
Well, I'm constantly learning. I'm not saying I know everything, but I just find people are very emotionally charged when they sell or buy a house. And you have to prepare them for the surprises. Otherwise, I was telling the agent yesterday, I said, it blew up over inspection, which is what we're about to talk about. And I said, the sellers blame me for this. And I know that's not appropriate, but at the end of the day, they don't understand and they get really upset. And so all we can do is just communicate, over communicate, and keep communicating and let them know what to expect. I think in that case, the inspector went and stomped around in the attic and messed up the drywall. And I had whole foots go through drywall from inspectors stomping around in the attic. So, usually that's forgivable, but this one's like, no, we didn't do it. It's not our fault. We're not going to take responsibility. It's just so frustrating, Anyway, that's how the world works right now.
It is, but I mean, you could call the program, continuing real estate education or something. And that is why you'll never know. I'll never know, but I don't know what the number is, but there is a number of people out there who, if they are smart, are listening to you for continuing education when it comes to real estate because you cover everything. And you've always got some new change here, some new change there. You're always on top of it. So,
Yeah,
but
I'm very grateful to have this platform because I'm getting more and more people tell me they listen. And I'm just thrilled. I'm like, really?
I
Take the
would
time
think.
to listen? Yeah.
Well, and honestly, I think you just nailed it. That's a big deal. I don't ever take for granted people listening because there are so many things they can do, on Saturday morning from that time
Social
on.
media,
Yeah, they do that.
yeah,
They can listen to something on Spotify or, I mean, that they're meeting you speaks very highly of you because there's so much competition for attention out there.
yeah,
And I'm glad it's going well. I think it'll only continue to improve because, I keep telling people about you on the air, obviously, but off the air as well. And it's like planting seeds. I don't know how long it's going to take for that person to have mentioned something to their cousin who's thinking about getting married and buying a home. But it's a matter of time because, and I say this sometimes in the spot, sooner or later, either you or somebody you know is going to be thinking about buying or selling a home. And when that happens, if it's you, you should know. If it's somebody you know, you need to tell them about Barb Schlinker. And hopefully that generates some stuff.
Yeah. It's fun. This is one of the fun things I do in a week.
There you go, right? I mean, I'm glad because with all the aggravation you have to put up with from some of these people, I'm glad that you have a good part of
My,
it.
this is my therapy, Richard.
Yeah, you got it. I'm ready to go. DJ just reminded me I've got a 12:30 here, so I'll count us down in three, two. Whoops, I'm sorry. Three, two, one. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and it educates you on how to buy or sell real estate. It does it with Barb Schlinker. She's the host of the program and the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, many home sellers fear the inspection. Many people think that most buyers want to just purchase their home as is, but what are some of the home inspection nightmares that people need to prepare for when they're selling their home, and how can you protect them when it comes to those nightmares?
Well, there's a lot of different things that go on with regard to house inspections. And I always recommend that a buyer do an inspection on a home, um, solely because, no home, even a brand new home, probably has some issues that you have to get taken care of. But where I'm running into problems is that the state does not regulate inspectors. There is no license to be an inspector. There are no qualifications to be an inspector. I could be an inspector and I'm scary with a tool in my hands. I have had landscapers do inspections. I've had the buyer's daddy do inspections. And those didn't end well, right? So at the end of the day, how are they qualified to judge a house? Only once, and this just recently happened in my career, was it actually a general contractor that did an inspection. I was so impressed. I was like, wow, okay, I have to listen to him because he knows how to build homes. But, most of them don't have, there is no qualification. A lot of them will get online certifications. There is one company here in town that does both inspections and they are structural engineers. So I would say, yes, those guys have credibility, but a majority of them are just small business people that might have a background in construction and they connect up with agents. They get referred by agents to go out and do these home inspections, and you never know what's going to happen. So again, there is no licensing, there's no definition of the job for real estate agents. And so a lot of the real estate agents don't want to spend the time sitting with the inspectors during the inspection. They'll sit there and say, well, that's a waste of my time. I've even had them put it in writing. So we go back to that fiduciary thing that we were talking about. They're advocating for their agent. I want to be there for a buyer's inspection if I'm working for a buyer. And the reason is I want to know what the inspector found because it's the licensed agent that has to make the request for repairs to the seller. They need to have eyes on it. They need to have an understanding about what's going on. Just recently, I had a property during that. Remember the really frigid day that we had a few months ago, Richard, where it was like sub-zero. Remember that?
Oh my gosh, how could you forget it? Yes, people
Yeah.
read about their pipes, their cars, everything.
Oh, yeah. So that was the day of one of the inspections. And we don't really know what happened, but pretty much we found out from the utility company after the moment that the inspection ended, water started flowing down the driveway. So I think what happened is somehow the copper plumbing for the sprinkler system got turned on that day, and it just multiple freeze breaks. And the next day, the neighbor called and complained about a glacier going down the driveway because excuse me, because the house was vacant and we had to get that resolved, but we couldn't prove who done it, which was kind of frustrating. So technically, the buyer's responsible for any damage that the inspector does during the inspection, but you have to be able to prove it to make that happen. I just find it very frustrating that the agents don't want to go over and over again. Every single week, I get requests from agents going, well, can't you give the inspector the combo and just let him in the house for 3 hours, turning things on and off and crawling around in the attic or whatever? Um, I trust him. He does all my inspections. And I'm like, no. First of all, they don't hold any kind of license. I don't know what kind of errors and omission insurance they have, but it's my insurance. I'm on the hook, technically, if they damage the house. So I don't want that to happen. So I insist that the agents go. And if they don't go, we are going to be there. If our seller still wants us to represent them and be there for the inspection, we're going to be there. Here's another thing that happens on inspections that is just hilarious to me, Richard. Somehow these inspectors got this idea in their head that when they do an inspection, they're there. Let's say we're in a perfect world, they're there with the buyer and the buyer's agent, okay? And they want to talk to the buyer about the conditions of the home that they found. So multiple times I've had inspectors and or their agents ask the seller to leave their own home. If it was your home, Richard, how would you feel about that?
Not going to happen. Simply not going to happen.
And then I'll even so it got so bad, this whole inspection, unregulated inspection stuff that was going on, that I had to put my little Commander Barb hat on, and I created it's called an inspection policy. It's a written document with an embedded video in case the agent doesn't want to read. And before the inspection, I sent it to him and I'm like, here's what you can and cannot do. You can't kick the seller out of their own home. You can't pull toilets without a plumber doing it. They started doing that on the older homes that didn't have sewer cleanouts. You can't open the door for the inspector and turn around and leave. You need to be there. And I think I'm going to add to that document, if I find out you're not there, I'm whacking $1,000 off the commission. How do you feel about that one, Richard?
I think I would like to have you representing me because you are smart, you're fair, but you're aggressive and standing up for the people you represent.
It's just not fair to the agents. I feel like their behavior, their commission should be tied to their performance. That's kind of how I feel about it these days, just because I've had so many problems. I'm not saying they're all that way, but how do you avoid it? So that's kind of the topic of this. And the fear of failing inspection absolutely is very real. A lot of contracts blow up over inspections. It's hard enough for buyers to be able to afford homes right now, but they don't want to buy something that has issues. They don't want to take on future repairs. So as much as you can do ahead of that inspection is the best thing to do. And of course, sellers fear surprises on inspection. So we actually have systems in place that kind of help you prepare for the inspection period and what we can do about it. But, buyers typically want to buy, but they have 8 different reasons that they could bail out of a contract and get their earnest money back, no harm, no foul. They won't get the money back that they spent on inspection, or an appraisal if it went that far. But, I've seen buyers walk away at the last minute and they get their deposit back and there's nothing the seller could do. And there's so many things that come under scrutiny on an inspection. And right now, the way with extra inventory, with the competition of new construction, it really, sellers really have to have everything, all of their ducks in a row. So these are some of the systems that they should get ahead of in the first place. Number one, roof. So probably I would say at least 1 out of 3 or 4 of my listings, seems like every month, has to file a claim and get a roof replaced, even in the wintertime, because they didn't know about legacy damage. The buyer's inspector found it. Now we're in a situation right between contract and closing that we're having to negotiate with the insurance companies, which the insurance companies are pushing back on honoring claims right now. They're trying to weasel out of spending so much money. And so we have to, it's just, it's not a good time to negotiate. So I'm saying you should do that up front. And we provide a service. We actually have a roofer that'll come out and do a roof cert at no cost because we recommend them when people do need a roof. And they will tell me the truth, whether it needs to be replaced or not. I just had a deal blow up technically over the roof. The seller filed a claim. The insurance company said, nope, it doesn't need to be replaced. Then we brought in the roofer. My roofer, he looked at it and said, no, it doesn't need to be replaced. And I know if he said that, he's telling the truth because he has told me when it did need to be replaced. It's not like, I know it seems like a conflict of interest because their job is to replace roofs, but he's also on my, preferred vendor list where he's getting a lot of business from me. So he's going to be very honest, and I appreciate that. Furnaces. So what happens with furnaces and water heaters and smoke detectors and GFCIs and all that? These inspectors come in and they have this parameter called useful life of those systems. So a furnace is, in their mind, a furnace useful life is 22 years. A water heater useful life is 6 to 9 years. Can you believe that, Richard? For a
I
water
thought,
heater?
no, I thought it would be much longer than that.
Yeah, anyway, so that's one of them. The other is smoke detectors and carbon monoxide. They want to see those replaced within 10 years. So if the furnace goes beyond 25, 30 years, yeah, it's probably going to have to be replaced at some point. But if it's still working, it doesn't mean you have to replace it. You can do things like include a home warranty, which is one of the things that we advise our clients to take on that system so they don't have to worry about it. So those, and then sewer line and septic line, those two things are big ticket items that I recommend every seller get ahead of. Um, the electric panel. So there's a certain brand in town that has a very bad reputation called Federal Pacific. They're in a lot of homes. Some are safe, some are not. So you want to get ahead of those things. And we can walk through the house and give you advice on what to look into and what not to look into in order to get ready for an inspection. And in general, the appraiser, the lender, they typically don't care about the systems as long as the plumbing's working. And if they're getting a VA or government loan, there's no safety issues like peeling paint on the outside, broken windows, missing stair rails, or anything like that. So when we come back, we're going to talk about some things that you could do to help prepare for your home inspection when you're selling a home to make it go smoothly. And if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker, your home sold guaranteed realty. If you're interested in selling, you want to call Barb 719-301-3900. And we're talking, Barb, about how to avoid red flags on home inspections for sellers. Barb, what are some other home inspection issues that you've seen coming up?
A lot of stuff on decks, wood takes a beating in this high elevation, dry climate. So that's a good thing to check out. Broken concrete, only if it's a tripped hazard. Windows, if they have broken seals, technically that's cosmetic, but it doesn't look pretty. But broken glass is an issue for a buyer getting a VA or FHA loan. But on the inspection, it's okay for you to be there. And it's not appropriate for the buyer to ask for ridiculous upgrades. Like, hey, I've had them at this, I've had all these things happen. I've had buyers on the inspection go, we want new windows. We want granite counters. We want a new furnace, and it's outrageous. So we've learned over the years how to protect our clients and how to get the deal done with certain systems, which is involved with our certified pre-owned home program, where we help them prepare. We also get their systems inspected ahead of time. That way they have time to negotiate for any issues that might come up. And then we have a pre-inspection where we can provide a warranty for the home. And that gives the buyer a warm fuzzy and also, allows them to consider that home as compared to something that might be a brand new home. My name is Barb Schlinker. We have over 28,107 buyers in waiting just on my little website looking for homes. And what we do is match our buyers to our homes. And our goal is to get the seller the full market value of the home in the least amount of time and the least amount of hassle. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, simply call Barb 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be discussing how cash offers can help home sellers, plus Barb's hot new listings. Stay tuned for that. Boom.
Boom.
Right.
Is that enough story?
Oh my God, it is. You know what? I do think we talked about it before. I guess I'm getting redundant here, but I do think that the stories that you tell are just, they add so much. I mean, I know that, I think you're supposed to be relatable. You're supposed to be an expert, but still somebody that people can relate to. And I think the stories just highlight that, quite honestly.
It's my therapy. So rather than get mad, I'm like, oh, you just made the show.
Oh, dang it. You know what? I had not thought about that. I ought to do like a little, Facebook Live or videotape or something and say, can you believe this idiot? Let me tell you about something. This person, I mean, you're a lady. I cannot tell you some of the text messages that I get from people. I mean, you've been in the military, you've been around the world, so you've heard stuff, but this is just too offensive to even do something like
Well,
that.
look what happened on those airline crashes. You know how brutal those people were to the pilots. That wasn't fair, I don't think. You know,
Well, especially because you know what? I mean, I have no idea. I mean, yes, what was she, 26 on the one that flipped over and it's an all-female crew and all this stuff? You know what? Is it entirely possible that you and three or four other women could be absolutely safe as can be on, a CJ 200 or something? Yes, absolutely. So I don't think it's not that issue, but you don't get a pass just because you're black or female or something like that.
but they went on social media and just were brutal
Yes.
with her. She had to take down her Facebook page. It's
I didn't
terrible.
realize that.
Yeah, it's not right. You know, it's like people are just, that when they stand behind social media, they're not face to face. It's not upfront and personal. You would never say those things to somebody to their face, and
Never,
that's the issue with that whole thing.
never.
So,
Absolutely. I
so
mean,
this is how I deal with it. Rather than flop on the floor and fight with them, I make them entertaining.
you are entertaining. And if I were them, I'd have somebody on my staff listening to you or going through, the podcast or something. Is that Barb talking about me again? Well, you know what? There's a solution to that. Don't do anything that Barb needs to talk about. That's pretty simple, right? I mean, because if that ever comes up, I'll get going here too because I've got to go. But if that ever comes up, I'd be happy to tell people Barb doesn't have an enemies list. I've never actually heard you at any point through all of these shows target somebody where that's an enemy and I'm going to go after.
Yeah.
But if somebody does something wrong, you're not adverse to calling them out on it.
No, but
It's supposed to
I'll
be.
never say a name.
Yep.
They'll never know. It's usually, well beyond the closing. And I think the reason, I'm talking about it is just because it adds value to the show. It's not like I'm just gossiping. I think people are quite surprised at what goes on, you know?
I think they have no idea. I mean, and I did, show up for a closing or this or that, and no idea at all what all went into that. Just no.
Mhm. All right, we got one more to go. You have to go at 12:30.
Yes, we're doing kind of a Zoom meeting here, so
Okay.
we should be good to go on that. I'll count us down here. Let me get my clock again. All right, I'll count us down in three, Two, one. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, the market has certainly changed in the last year. It's causing some people to wonder if their homes will sell quickly and at a good price. Many home sellers want to bet on the sure thing. That would be a cash buyer versus selling to a buyer that needs to go out and get a loan. Bob, talk to us about cash offers and how they may help home sellers.
Well, Richard, in general, people don't sell homes very often. And the assumption about cash offers is that a home seller will take less money from a cash buyer, but that's actually not true, at least not with our cash offers. That some of these investors are looking to maximize the value. Their fees are a little higher than what you normally see, but they deliver great value by solving the problem for them. And so, I can take with my cash offer platform, I can take any address on the country. Let me say that again. With my cash offer system, I can take any address in the country, put it up on the cash offer platform, and within minutes, I have multiple preliminary offers for those homes. So it gives me two pieces of information. It gives me an idea what they think the automated value is of the home. And it also gives me a really good idea on how to position the home to get the most money. The seller doesn't necessarily have to take any of those cash offers. You don't have to accept any offer, but there's a lot of ways that you can leverage these cash offers, and they're always available as a backup. And in general, the home sale process is quite a project. I mean, I've been in some big homes that, they're wanting to downsize and they got all this stuff, and it seems like stuff accumulates. It doesn't matter how hard you try, it's going to happen. And it's quite a project if you haven't stayed ahead of that to get the home looking more austere and model-like to present it to the open market. That's one issue. Getting ready for photo days, dealing with repairs, dealing with showings. And it takes a while. It takes probably on average, I would say 60 to 90 days from the time you go on the market to get closed and sold if all the stars align. Now, we try to make it very simple and smooth without any surprises. That way we give them a really good idea what the market is doing. We'll show them what the competition looks like, the homes that are selling, the homes that are not selling, and what they look like so they can position the home to meet their goals, essentially. And so you really want to start this process probably months before you plan to move. And that way you have time and we have time to help you prepare. So before we meet, we're gonna take a look at what the market's doing. That way we show up with some good information. Then we find out what your goals are. And then we show up for that in-home consultation, take a look at the house and get a really good idea, give you a really good idea of what your home will sell for and give you tips on what to do and what not to do. Like I was in Granny's house last week, and her number one question on a house that was built in the 60s that was not updated, do we remodel the kitchen? And I'm like, no, you're not going to get the money out of it. And it looked cute. It was just a 60s time warp. Every one of those old appliances absolutely worked. But if you went in there and gutted it and redid it, I don't think the market would command the money that it would cost, right? So it doesn't make sense. It's just what needs to happen is you have to make it look fresh, move-in ready, take care of any broken stuff. And that's what we did. So I'm really excited about where the market's going to go with that. The other thing that we do is we show you all the marketing options and we show you what the offers are. So even though you may not want one of those cash offers at that time, maybe you prefer to go on the open market and see how much money you can get on the open market, that's fine. It's good for sellers to know that that option is still there for them. So you don't have to worry about, oh, well, I went this way, so I'm not going to be able to get a cash offer later on down the road. And there's another way where we can really leverage it, where you can get the most amount of money, especially when somebody calls and said, hey, do you have any other offers on your home? My answer is always going to be, yes, I do. So the way this came about, I have this colleague in another state that was getting really heavy competition right after the interest rates started going back up from competing real estate companies that were promising to sell fast and for cash and stuff like that. And so he went out, and the son of this team leader went out and met with people with buckets of money. That's what they do. They invest in homes, they turn them around and maximize their dollar amount. And so he came up with about 67 to 70 high net worth buyers that are willing to pay cash for these homes. So they created a website. We can take our properties and put them in there, and then instantly we get offers. And if the seller's interested in that, we can move forward with that investor. We can even negotiate with that investor. So it is a nice option for most sellers to have. And I even had a seller recently that called me from Florida. Florida's gotten really saturated right now. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of hurricanes and insurance and stuff like that. But he had just bought in Florida, was planning to move back to the West Coast. And he's like, what do I do? So the first thing I did was try to look at his pictures, because he's listed with an agent out there. And I'm like, well, you could fix this and fix that. But it sounds like if you have that much competition, it could be a pricing problem as well. And I put them up on the cash offer website and got them offers right away. So it was kind of fun to be able to do that. We can also use those if somebody comes to the seller and says, hey, Mr. Seller, I have a house to sell that's not sold or not even on the market yet. So I've told outside agents, hey, we can get offers on your listing so you can buy our listing without a sale contingency. I've gotten mixed results from that, because the other agents, it's out of their wheelhouse essentially. I had one agent that summarily rejected even looking at the offers. And then she went on to put her listing on the market, probably at least 150,000 over what it was worth, in my opinion. So I don't think she really knew what she was doing. So, and I've had others that just said, no, we're going to do it. We're just going to go on the open market. And the net result for that buyer who made an offer on one of my listings was that they didn't get the dream house that they wanted. They wanted to buy my listing, and I offered them a solution. They blew me off. They put their house on the market and somebody else got the house. So it's too bad. It's a relatively new system, but once we have an agreement to go get you a buyer, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to try to find you the buyer that you want according to your situation. We even give you like a checklist on, okay, so based on how you want to sell, here's what the steps are going forward. That way you have absolute clarity on what are the steps next. If you go on the open market, I absolutely recommend considering our certified pre-owned home program, because it gives you more certainty that once you do get a contract that you like, that the process is going to go through, you're going to pass the inspection, and everybody's going to be happy. So whether you want cash buyers or traditional buyers, you want to make sure that when you go on the open market, that your home is properly marketed, because we know the first showing is online and you only have seconds to make an impression before a buyer is moving on. Plus, we prepare you for all the things that could happen in the sales process. It's usually rather interesting what goes on. And that's what we help people do. So if you're interested in getting cash offers, give us a call. We guarantee multiple cash offers on your home. And we also guarantee 100% of market value, or we'll pay the difference. So to find out about those, call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
We're talking about why a home seller would consider a cash buyer versus a traditional sales process. Barb, tell more about having offers that can help the sellers get more money.
Well, we have 4 different strategies, and it really depends on what the seller wants. There are some I just last week had a seller tell me, I don't want a bunch of agents coming in here. I don't want to sell that way. And I'm like, okay, we're going to market your home privately to people that are looking for a home like yours. And that's exactly what what we're doing. I brought them two offers last night. So not everybody has the same strategy. Some people want to have a bunch of buyers come through their home. Some people want a fast as is sale. They don't want to deal with strangers coming through their house. But if they go on the open market, I know based on what we do, we're giving them the best chance to command full market value based on our processes and our systems that we have in place. And these cash offers actually help them with getting full market value because when a buyer comes along and says, "Hey, I've got a," or an agent says, "Hey, I have a home." Oh, let me start that all over again. When an agent comes and says, I want to, I know what I want to say, it's not coming out. An agent comes along and says, "Hey, Barb, I got a buyer that's very interested in making an offer on your home. The first question is, do you have any other offers?" And my answer is, yes, I do. Bring your best and highest, and we'll be meeting with the seller at, 4 o'clock on Friday or whatever time it is. So it does give you a little bit more leverage to be competitive and help position the buyer to put their best foot forward. Nothing more disappointing than getting an offer from a buyer's agent that thinks they know how to negotiate, and their only mission is a win-lose scenario. In other words, they're making an offer below asking price. They're asking the seller to pay an additional 15 or 20,000 in closing cost. And oh, by the way, after that, they're going to want some repairs too. It's really hard for sellers to want to pay them their full commission when they're coming in that way. So there's a way to do it and there's a way not to do it. And we can help our sellers really maximize their home value. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
Well, without further ado, let's, Barb, go to your hot new listings for this week. What do you have?
I have a beautiful home in Northgate, very close to the Air Force Academy, priced in the low sixes, brand new carpet, gorgeous home, updated bathrooms. I think you'll enjoy this, close to a walking trail. I have a stunning home in Larkspur in Perry Park on Winged Foot Court. This home is priced at 1.25 million. Absolutely spectacular views from every single window in the home, in superb condition and a great location. I have a gorgeous home on Camfield Circle. This is a Briargate home with gleaming hardwood floors throughout in excellent condition and fabulous views. I also have another amazing view house on Sunbird Hills, priced at 1.599 999. And this home actually has two cars garage, big deep two-car garage on the main level. You could drive around the side. It has a big four-car garage around, or three-car minimum, but you might be able to squeeze a fourth car in there. And it's kind of cool because it's almost like a multi-generational home. So the main level has 3 bedrooms plus a study, beautiful views all around. And then the lower level has another bedroom, a kitchenette, a rec room where you could have your in-laws or extended family living there. It's a great, great location. I have an adorable cabin on Friar Tuck in Divide, priced at $399. This home is included with a couple of extra lots, so it's actually almost an acre of absolute beauty, and it's a great kind of mountain getaway. We also have some homes owned by the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. These homes need a little love as far as condition, but you know what? To get 35 acres and great views, it's absolutely a good buy. And coming very soon, I have Granny's home in the low 300,000s. I have an amazing property in Jackson Creek in the upper 400,000s. And we have a beautiful home in Wolf Ranch on Old Glory that backs to open space. Is just gorgeous. Brand new carpet coming up very soon in the upper fives. If you want to find out about all of our coming soon homes, go to barbhasthebuyers.com or give us a call at 719-301-3900. Richard?
Thanks, Barb. You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. That's it for this week. Barb, have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.